So yeah, I hope you guys are excited. Today we are talking about UKMR, and we are talking about who is good and who is not. And a lot of that's still up for discussion. We got this set up. There is no UKMR tier list, so we're doing it old school. We're doing it in Photoshop. You know, context of watching hundreds and hundreds of matches obviously changes opinions a little bit, but this is our baseline understanding after a couple of tournaments. And I guess we'll just go alphabetically, right? Tier list based on overall player control or AI control? Yeah, we're talking about AI. We're talking about competitive play. So first up, we got Ace Killer. Ace Killer's got a 17 guts rate. 17 is extremely slow. 19 is the slowest in the game. You'll see that on Super C.O.V. 17 is like Galley. So we all know Galley's a pretty strong monster in the context of Monster Rancher 2. We won't be able to use one-to-one comparisons to Monster Rancher 2 because, well, you'll see in a sec. But, you know, it's a good starting point. It's a good point for us to jump off of. If this move was in Monster Rancher 2 on a monster with a 17 guts rate, this would be unusably bad. -7 hit. Basics in this game are terrible. This move's got a lot of crit, which is kind of bizarre for a basic deck, but basics in this game are like really bad. And you'll see as we get to some of the other monsters, this looks bad, but there's some like atrociously bad basic decks. Kick is one of his better techs, which is kind of embarrassing. Good hit, kind of middling damage for 18. So you can compare this to this. This is like almost completely inconsequential. So Kick is like 100 times better than Slash. Smash Kick, and you're gonna see this a lot in this game, kind of fills the exact same role as Killer Claw, except it's just worse for some reason. Costs way more for less. So far, we've looked at his moves, and he's got Kick and Killer Claw. And so far, those are the only moves I'd bother getting. And then we come to Tackle, which is kind of okay. Bracelet Bomb, you know, it's a little bit risky, -10 hit. But if you're trying to end the game, 40 force is not as much as it looks like, but it's pretty solid. The Withering shit. Withering on a monster with a 17 guts rate is completely useless. This shit doesn't even do any damage. This is awful. Overpower is useless. Miriam Beam is very expensive, but at least it's got some hit. But this move looks better. This move, you know, it's a little bit less damaging, but it costs 6 less, which is actually a pretty big deal for him. And it is significantly more accurate. So you'd probably get Ultra Bracelet over a Miriam Beam. M87 Beam is a nuke. This shit does so much damage, but it costs 50 and it's -18. And so on a monster like him, you'd probably never use it. And Spacium Beam's a little bit less, or a little bit more risk averse. It costs significantly less. It's still kind of shit, but you know, if you're gonna gamble, there's your gamble tech. Look at that manlet ass. Putting him in seems weak. We'll just do this for all of them. So next up, we got Alien Baltan. Alien Baltan is probably one of the best monsters in this game. There you go. Spoilers. Spoilerino. Alien Baltan has an incredibly fast guts rate. Baltan has a 7, yeah. Extremely fast. So that's pixie speed. Nothing in this game has a guts rate faster than 7. So this is like metal near tier for this game, at least. And with how slow the average guts rate in this game seems to be, he definitely isn't too afraid of many monsters in this game. So, Gang Up Thrash, very good. Compare this shit to what we just saw with Ace Killer. 17 cost for 18 force and +10 hit. That's like, he had a basic that did less damage and had -7 hit that cost this. Dropkick, you probably go with Dropkick. You probably get some use out of this. -7 hit is not unusable for him. It only costs 18, so, you know, it's barely any sort of actual investment for something with a 7 guts rate. Surprise Attack is also a mid move. And it is a mid move because this shit does no damage. It's got a ton of hits. It is very accurate, but it is basically the same thing as like Tiger's Roll Assault, where in theory it seems really good, but it doesn't see a lot of play. In this game, it might be slightly better just because so many people are running Overnight Viable. That's the automatic grit. So this move is extremely good for closing out automatic grits. So it's got some utility there. You're just not relying on it to like actually get you chip damage. But this is the cheese here. We got 30 critical hit rate, which is insanely high. I don't know if anything gets higher than 30 in this game. We'll take a look, obviously. Only costs 24 for 32 force and only -5 hit. This Jumping Thrash is one of the best moves in the game. So I think Alien Baltan is very strong. And it's interesting because he is supposed to be played as an intelligence monster, but his intelligence techs kind of extremely awful. His power techs are very good. Illusions will lose you games. you need to be able to do damage. A move that only does withering, unless you can find a way to do damage through withering specifically, and I don't think there's a cookie for that, you never want an attack that does no damage. It will lose you games. It will never win you a game. It will only win you a game if you hit it first and your opponent has no speed, so you can just keep spamming it. And at that point, this shit does a lot of damage. Just use Jumping Thrash instead. Sounds like Tiger. Yeah, kinda. Next up, we got Alien Metron. Alien Metron has an 11 guts rate, I do believe. I think Color Pandora is 11. It's above average. It's not crazy, but it's good. And when mixed with other fast guts rate monsters, you can have an extremely high guts rate. So you guys have seen my boy Metron Collie. Metron Collie has Metron Punch, which is fucking ludicrous. It is kind of a worse version of Gang Up Thrash, but again, it only costs 10. It's got a huge 18 hit rate, and it only has 10 force behind it, but it's really quick, so you can spam it. It's a good-ass move. It might be the best 10 cost move in the game. It's a swap of 18 force and 10 hit. There are diminishing returns on hit. It's not like you can go, oh, this is 10 and 18, so that's 28. So this is a more cost-effective version of Gang Up Thrash, because that's not really how it works. This move is much more impactful in a match, and even if a move, like, maybe doesn't have the same cost ratio, impact is important, and it's a thing that gets overlooked a lot. A move that has, like, minus 20 hit that instantly wins you the match when it lands is often better than a move that has, like, 9 force. You know what I mean? We're not going to worry about any of his other basic techs because Metron Body Slam is fucking bonkers. Metron Body Slam is like maybe a top 10 tech in this game. It is so incredibly powerful. 28 cost for 34 force, 0 hit, and a little bit of crit on the end. This move is busted. It is so powerful. And along with Metron Punch, that's basically his power build. You're looking at it right there. There's other monsters where like this is like their best tech. And it's so out of the realm of running for Metron's best techs that it's kind of funny. That should explain to you where this is and where this is. His intelligence attacks though. Oh my god. Converse, again, this doesn't do any damage. Huge withering, great versus tanks, but not good otherwise. The thing is, it does so little damage that if you wanted to, you could run this on a power build. It's just that it also covers a body slam, so not great. But the difference between running this on an intelligence build and a power build is maybe like 400 damage a game, max. These withering techs, they seem like they should be really good. This costs so much to do nothing though. And Weird Smoke at first seems dumb. It debuffs your foe's intelligence by 10% for 20 seconds. Which is like, there's not a ton of intelligence builds out there. It doesn't seem super consequential. But it has 50% chance to poison. And it does a decent amount of withering. So even though you're at a little bit of a disadvantage, spending 30 to wither for 15, you have a good chance to poison, and you get this weird debuff that is very rare. You don't see this a lot. Again, you could run this on a power build if you wanted, because you don't have to rely on any damage, but it does cover up Metron Punch. So I think if you're gonna run this, and you're gonna run this, you probably want to run some kind of poison build specifically. Metron is very strong. Metron is definitely up here. Bemstar up next. Bemstar has a lot of attacks that seem like they're good at first, but they are not, and it's unfortunate. Why does he have a hit tech that only does 2, even though he's like a fast guts rate monster? Bemstar's got like an 8 guts rate. This monster in general just seems kind of like middling. Bemstar Horn is a move you see pretty often. Got a huge chance to crit, so 36 so far is the highest we've seen. But, you know, if you just had a move that did 10 more damage and had maybe, I don't know, an additional 5% chance to hit and no crit, it would be better, like significantly better. So like high crit doesn't really matter if that's the only thing the move has going for it. Horn Thrust doesn't seem that bad. So there's a couple, like Horn Thrust doesn't do anything, right? If you gotta be landing these crits. For the fact that it only costs 13 guts, and the fact that it's on a monster with such a fast guts rate, is saving it. Numerically, looking at it straight up, it doesn't look great, but the 8 guts rate does a lot to make it usable. His basics are all really bad. E-Force, E-Force, and then this one costs 20 to do 12 damage. That's That's pathetic, honestly. Everything on him is just like slightly overpriced. Stab is incredibly expensive for no reason. Like, why does it cost that much? You compare it to like what Baltan and Metron had, it's bizarre, man. Like, there's so many moves in this game that are just like significantly worse than other moves that do the same thing, and I don't understand why that is. It's just worse. I don't get it. Horn thrust, Bemstar tackle, and then flying attack is pretty solid. Burning jet is just flying attack, except you're paying more for a chance to burn, which is fine, I suppose, except burn doesn't seem that consequential. I've never even seen this move. Absorb Attractor Spout. I don't think... You know, he's got a fast enough guts rate to actually use a 50 guts move, but the fact it's like a self-healing tech, right? Or a drain tech, but it only drains 50% of the damage dealt. It does deal a shit ton of damage, so you can, you know, you can get some use out of it, but you're gonna see in just a little bit why this seems crappy. Bemmy's the best sub for Red King. Bemmy's the best sub for a lot of monsters because of how fast his guts rate is. If they can't get a Baltan sub rate or a Kanegon sub rate, you usually go with him. We got this guy next. So this is the same guts rate as our boy Bemstar that we were just looking at. He has so many just incredibly good, like stupid good attacks. Look at this. This costs 10. This costs 19. A 19 cost tech that does 10 hit and 10 force. This is pretty shit, especially considering some of the other stuff we've seen. But that's okay, because he's got Spin Kick, which is 24 force for 22, with a 20% chance to crit for 0. This is like Metron Tackle, except cheaper. It's great. Death CM Attack, though, this is stupid. This is so powerful. It's cost the same amount as this other tech that's good, except for trading in 3 hits and a little bit of crit that doesn't matter. Death CM Attack is probably the best tech. Belial should have been a whole breed. That'd be cool. Were they looking at the other monsters when they made this one? I don't know. I think he's made to be a boss monster, though. And it shows, because this shit is stupid. It's kind of crazy that we're getting to him this early, because I feel like we're gonna have to keep coming back to it so I can be like, what do you get for 22 guts on this other monster? Remember, this guy has an incredibly fast guts rate. This would be a move that you would see on like a monster in Monster Rancher 2, like Monal or like Dragon or something that has an incredibly slow guts rate, because 22 is a bit of an investment on them. Not so on 8 guts rate. This is inconsequential. This is such a fucked up move. And then, if it wasn't enough, we got another 22, or this is 25, but 22 damage, 27 crit. This is like the same move as this, except worse for some reason. Like, I don't know why this is... If you want a spin kick in the mid-range, you can go for this. It's basically the same move. It is ostensibly worse, but it is not so bad that it's unusable. This is still very good. This is an incredible price point. It's just, it's not this, you know? And it's definitely not this. And then Black Hole, you know, it's a risky move, but it does everything. It steals health, it poisons. Honestly, this is risky on any monster. Minus 12 hit and 49 cost, but you got a good chance to poison. I mean, you got a chance to poison. You got a chance to heal yourself, and it does a good chunk of damage. And then Dark Cocoon Bomb is maybe like the best basic in the game. This guy might need his own tier, but until then, there you go. Birdon is also incredibly powerful. Birdon is maybe one of the best tanks in the game. Got these 2 moves right here that steal health. They're in the exact same slot, which is weird and kind of, you know, makes them not great to use at the same time, but they're both good. Oh, Birdon has a 12. Why did I think Birdon was faster? I think there is a Birdon with a very fast guts rate though, right? The Duck and Birdon has a 10, which is incredibly fast for a tank that wants to do this, yeah. This looks really expensive, but it does an okay amount of damage. It's not super inaccurate. It does a lot of withering, and it has 70% chance to poison. Shark Nose is one of the best poisoning techs in the game. If you're running a poison build, which you probably are, because, you know, Birdon has the inherent plus to poison stuff on his cookie. Again, expensive, but it's very accurate and has 50% chance to poison, and does a decent chunk of damage. 44 cost, or 44 damage for 48 cost, and only minus 5 hit. His intelligence techs are not great. They're all pretty inaccurate. They got the big nuke here, but you're probably not running intelligence. Yeah, it's got great base stats. It's got great techs. It's extremely easy to unlock, just like Phoenix. It's a good monster. We're running out of room in the top tier. It's okay. It's fine though. Dada is also very good. Warp Shot is nuts. Why, like, 23 cost for 25 force, 14 hit? This is ludicrous. This is incredible. This is such a good move. Why are you stealing Twister Claw? It's not as good as Twister Claw, but it is almost. And Twister Claw was a huge mistake. Twister Claw is incredibly good, and it makes Kato the speedrun monster. And it's almost never used in competitive play because Power Kato is better, which is like kind of crazy to think about. But that's mostly just because you can't rely on him using Twister Claw all the time. Dada, again, has a faster guts rate. Kato has an 18 guts rate, or 17 guts rate. Dada is sitting here with a 9. Dada is Undine speed guts regen. Dude, imagine Undine having this move. Pistol is good too. It's a little bit inaccurate, but you know, you're gonna see a lot of Dadas run that. Kiss is maybe the most egregious withering move that has existed in Monster Rancher since Monster Rancher 1. Doesn't do any damage, so that is a huge turnoff from using it. It has 1 force, but 30 withering for 12 cost on a monster with Undine's guts rate is stupid. Phantom Kick is maybe the funniest animation in the game, so it's got that going for it. And it is a mini death final that has 0 hits. I like the idea that they're all just like random different sizes too. Oh yeah. So, we are 7 monsters in. I have considered 5 of them top tier so far. Eleking is maybe second best in the game behind Belial Kanegon. He's got so many different moves, and so far the only monster we've actually talked about that has a very strong intelligence and very strong power build. Shock Slap, look at this. This costs 19. You got a lot of crit and you got a lot of force for 19. Good start. And then, you know, this is the same thing. It costs a little bit more, but this gives you the high 40% chance to proc lightning. So this is like, if you're trying to actually get the element proc, you go Clamp Spark. If you're just worried about damage and efficiency, you probably go Shock Slap. Lightning Speed, 18 cost for 18 force, 5 hit, and 10 crit. Doesn't have many power techs, but 3 of them are like top tier techs. Intelligence Eleking though. Eleking Collider is incredibly good. 42 damage for 37 cost. With these other numbers, 30% chance to proc. 19 force, 18 hit for 20 cost. This is nuts. Antenna Discharge, Eleking Collider will do a lot to carry you. And then all the way down here, he's got stuff like Discharge Beam and Bolt Storm if you want to do a little bit more damage. He's got everything. He's got Withering on a lot of his stuff incidentally. Much more rare in this game than it is in Monster Rancher 2. There's one more monster that belongs up there, I think. And then everything else is going to kind of fall to shit. Next up, we got 5 King. 5 King is the hardest monster in the game to unlock. Well, what about his techs? Huh? What about them techs? 5 King is a mixture of a lot of other kaiju, and because of that, his attacks are kind of a mix of other kaiju as well. And he doesn't really have the best of any of them. It's kind of unfortunate. You take a look at this, stuff like Melba Ray, which is just kind of a worse version of some Eleking's moves we just saw, costs way more. He doesn't have many power techs, it's mostly beams and zaps and shit. Power build on him does not seem very good at all. Scissor Punch is probably fine, but Claw Strike is not good, and Pinch is pretty bad as well. Soaring Strike is okay as well. It's a little bit expensive for what it does, but if you're running power, I mean, you're kind of stuck with it. All of this other stuff is like, yeah, you can make a case for this. Yeah, you can make a case for this. You can make a case for this. But 45 force for 38 cost and a decent amount of critical hit rate is actually really, really solid. 5 King does not have the best guts rate in the game. He's got a 15. There's not a lot of 15 guts rate monsters in Monster Rancher 2 that have something better than this. This is like actually very strong. Is it enough to carry him? It's not, because it's incredibly risky. 38 cost on 15 or lower. 15 is what Hare has in Monster Rancher 2. What does Hare have? That costs 38, I should say. Hare's got like Bang. Doesn't have anything at that exact price point. Spin Kick. Spin Kick is much worse. So it's like a better Spin Kick. Imagine Hare having this move. Hare would be great if Hare had this move, and Hare's already great. Jet Tackle is probably the reason you're playing him. Catastrophe Spark has 63 force, which is incredibly high, but, you know, almost 50 cost and minus 20. If you want to gamble, honestly, I think if you're running an intelligence version of 5 King, you're probably getting Catastrophe Spark because you are a sick motherfucker, and you're just like, you know what, I'm swinging. 5 King is probably and seems strong. I don't think he is a top tier at all. I don't think he's top tier. I think he's actually quite a bit lower, but I do think he's better than Bemstar. Gandar. Gandar, I don't actually think is in that top tier spot. I think he's very close. Ice Claw and Gandar Kick are good options. Frost Kick is up there as well. It's so expensive though. But, you know, you just land the hit and you make it work. Gandar Dive over here is basically the same move as what we just saw, except it's on a much, much faster guts rate monster. Gandar Dive is incredibly good, even compared to 5 King's jet attack. Results say otherwise, results do say otherwise. I don't know if I want to put him in very strong. I don't think minus 10 hit on a monster this fast, guts rate wise, isn't actually that big of a deal. What's the fastest Gandar? Kanegon Gandar, I believe, is at 9. Yeah, regular Gandar is 9 as well. So yeah, main breed and Kanegon. So these minus 10s are completely workable. You can make it happen. Good chance to crit. Great chance to freeze, especially with minus 140 Celsius. Intelligence Gandar, I don't even think we're gonna bother looking at it. His power build is just so powerful. Do I put him up here? I can't have everyone in very strong. I think I might have to move some stuff down to the next tier, but we'll start up here and then we'll adjust, because if everyone's in S tier, then nobody's in S tier, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm gonna move Birdon down. Birdon seems good. I'm gonna stick to my guns. Stick to your guns. We're gonna move this guy down too. And I think I want to put Birdon back up. Gan-Q has so many intelligence attacks and they are all trash. Gan-Q is kind of like Alien Baltan, where he's absolutely meant to be an intelligence monster. That's what his stat gain suggests, but his intelligence attacks are all really, really crappy. Absolute absorption is like kind of fine, but it's got this weird variable lifesteal amount, which is just really stupid. I don't get it. This is like a bad roar, like a bad tiger roar kind of on a cursed eye. Terror Gaze, he's got the one move that does paralyze, has 75% chance to proc, but it doesn't do any damage. 31 cost for this. What's the point? You probably, if you were doing human control, Terror Gaze is probably not terrible, because you would use Terror Gaze and then you would back up and you would use Hyper Beam to finish them off when they have the lowered speed. But you can't rely on that in AI versus AI. So in AI versus AI, you're using Teleport Attack. And that's about it. Spin Strike is a very, very distant second as far as his techs are concerned. And then Rock Hurl is just slightly behind that. I feel bad kind of just like glazing over all these and just being like, this is all bad with like a hand wave, but it's true. It's not very good. It's really unfortunate. I wanted Gan-Q to be great. When I first saw like the initial monster roster, I didn't know anything about any of the kaiju from Ultraman. I saw Gan-Q and I was like, this looks great. This looks like the monster I hope I get on my first playthrough. And I don't know. Here's where we are right now. Garamon is up next. He's got Garadama Raid, which is just an insane nuke. It's not like 5 King level, but it's very close. 57 force is kind of crazy for a minus 19 hit. It's funny. Is it good? I don't know, but it is funny. Body attack is super expensive for like a basic hit tech. Tunnel vision is like, the thing is, he's got a couple of moves with like okay numbers on them, but he's got such a bad guts rate that you need to take that into consideration. So something like tunnel vision, which is 36 cost for 40 damage and 0 hit, seems incredible. But on an 18 guts rate monster, it is not. It is kind of crappy. It's not great. But, you know, what else has he got? He's got a basic tech with 20 hit for some reason. It's got 5 force though. Like, they were just like, what if we made the most accurate move in the world do fucking nothing? That's what we got. Oh, it's so sad. He's got both buffs for his power and intelligence, which I think is unique to him. But again, 23 guts to boost your power output by 10%. Maybe you'll get one attack off with him. I don't know. He's got grit killers. He does have grit killers. This is still expensive though. If you had to use either beat or headbutt, I would go with headbutt every time, just due to the fact that it does a little bit more damage, and the difference between plus 15 hit and plus 20 hit is kind of negligible. There's not going to be a lot of times where that makes a huge difference. Signal boost into beatdowns. You know, doing 5.5 damage instead of 5 damage multiple times in a row might add up, but it probably won't. I wanted him to be good. I like the fact that he looked like an ugly pine cone. He's kind of like Gan-Q style, where I thought he had a shot, and it would be really funny if he was great. And it would be really funny if he was great, but he is not. Insanely high lifespan. It does have insanely high lifespan. It's the longest in the game, I believe, right? As far as a base goes, 380. Yeah, I think 380 is the longest. He's got an 8-year lifespan, which is a lot. Is tunnel vision better than anything Ace Killer has? I want to say yes. I want to say it's better than anything Ace Killer has, but I also don't think it's enough to carry him. Look at this. His techs are so bad. You don't proc Bone Wings, it'll totally win you the match. It might. That might be the counter pick strat, is you do so little damage. This was actually a thing I unironically was talking about, is like maybe the plan is to run minus power, so you don't proc Bone Wings before your opponent, but just enough so you can still get KOs. I think he is down here. I think he's worse than Ace Killer one way or the other. We got Golza up next. Golza is pretty good. Golza is not top tier. We're not putting him at the top, but he's got a couple of really good options. Tail Crash and Tail Attack are both pretty solid for the cost. Golza Claw is nuts though. 32 force for this, 25 cost, only minus 4 hits, good chance to crit. Golza Claw is very, very strong. Charge, again, is very similar to like the best hit techs in the game. Those two on their own is like enough. Golza Headbutt is okay. It does so much, has so much critical hit chance, but you know, it's in the same range as Charge. And for the exact same cost, you can have an additional 14 chance to hit, which is, you know, why would you not just go with Charge? His intelligence attacks, he's got a couple of interesting options, but none of them are really a match for Golza Claw and Charge. In Monster Rancher, in general, tech loadouts are extremely small because you don't want your monster using techs that are bad. And in this game, you have the potential to remove any basic techs, or any other techs for that matter, that your monster learns that you don't want. So I think as time goes on, we're going to end up with a lot of tech lists that are 2 techs, maybe 3, and that's going to be like close to like optimized, or not optimized, but like what optimized for whatever your specific goal is. Maybe it's not like the meta pick, but even on stuff that's like a little bit goofy, you're probably not going to see more than like 4 at absolute max techs being used. And on a monster like Golza, where a lot of these good techs that he wants are in the same slot, you would just go with whatever one you think is best. He's definitely better than 5 King. We'll move 5 King over. Not as good as Gandar, but you're close. Gomora. Gomora is like, I don't know. Gomora doesn't do anything is the problem. He doesn't have like a defined personality. He's not a super hard hitter. He doesn't have a lot of accurate stuff. He doesn't have any cost-effective stuff. He's got Rend, which is fine, but like worse than everything we just saw in Golza. He doesn't really have the guts rate to like make this stuff work. Scratch is very accurate, but does Gomora want to be spending with a 14 guts rate? Does he want to be spending 24 guts to do 16 force? This is like a desperation attack, you know? Haymaker is probably one of his better options. It's very cheap and does an okay amount of damage. It's not going to be the most consequential move you ever use. I don't understand why Horn Pierce and Haymaker do the same amount of damage, and Haymaker is not only more accurate but costs way, way less. This critical hit does not matter at all. Zero Shoot is probably a pickup for him just because you want an opportunity to supplement this low damage accurate move with the chance to instantly win. Maybe worse, maybe he seems weak, to be honest, but at least he's got a couple of options, whereas these guys have like nothing going for them. And there's a couple of monsters that I think are like down here, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Kanegon up next. This is silly, man. Again, Kanegon Punch, just like the other Belial Kanegon, this one has 2 additional hit over the other guy, but 19 for this is so weird, because this is like slightly more accurate and slightly more damaging than this other move. These are both bad. Spin Kick, great move. 24 cost, 0 hit, 26 crit. That's nuts. But unfortunately, that's kind of all he has. Kanegon Tackle is like a worse version of Metron Tackle. Regular Tackle is probably fine. If you're running power, you're probably running Spin Kick and Kanegon Tackle though, because you want to be able to do a little bit more damage. And he's got a fast enough gust rate at 9 that it's... Has he got a 9 or has he got an 8? Kanegon has an 8. It's pretty good. He's not a fantastic monster. Though Scrounge is so stupid. Steals 50% of the stuff it withers. It costs a lot, but it only ends up costing 12 if it actually hits. Cocoon Toss is an okay basic. Cocoon Bomb is kind of similar. Gob Time, this is maybe the worst healing tech in the game. This is terrible. He seems at first like Spin Kick is enough to hold him up in like the top tiers because this is one of the best moves in the game, but that's all he has. So you need to be landing that constantly. So you need a monster with a personality that is constantly in slot 1. There's just a lot of like work that needs to be put in to make it happen. And even then, it's still not at the top, you know? I do think he's in Seem Strong though. I'm gonna put him here. I do think he's better than 5 King, and I think probably better than Golza as well. King Joe looks like a golem type monster. Got the 19 guts rate, he's got the dragon guts rate, he's got the huge power, he's got good intelligence gains. He's actually kind of like a mini dragon. But Power King Joe sucks ass. He does not have a single good tech with the exception of Tanker Toss, which is mostly good because it is very, very funny looking. T-pose spinning to win is great, but it's not enough to win you the game. This is okay. And the reason I'm being so negative about this is because Intelligence King Joe seems fucked up. It seems very strong. And a big part of that is this here. He's got Self-Destruct, which has 72 force for 46 cost, only -4 hit. And self-damage is 20 to 50% of damage dealt. So this seems like, oh, that's not a ton of recoil. This shit can get to like 6 digits. This can hit over 100k damage. So you are almost always gonna like instantly kill yourself with this. Tackle is fine, not for 19 guts rate, it's not. Baltan King Joe maxes out at 14. That's the best you're gonna get. And this move isn't good on that. It's still below average. But yeah, Self-Destruct, this does so much damage. And if you're running a speed build, you know, good chance that you're not going to die instantly because you've got you get 2 chances to heal yourself, right? You get Overnight Revival and you get Self-Repair. Seems in that case you can run lower intelligence. Yeah, you can. And because of that, you can go super high into life, you can go super high into other stuff. You don't really need to run a ton of offense. It's actually kind of interesting. And then because you're running the low intelligence and you don't really care that much about damage outside of Self-Destruct, Pedanium Gas is actually not too bad. 80% chance to poison. Doesn't do a lot of damage if it hits and it doesn't poison, but you got a good chance to poison. And then these other options are really good as well. Dest Ray is, you know, it's a little bit inaccurate, but then you've also got Separative Eldritch Shot, which is super powerful for only 44. He is a very gamble heavy monster, but this is like going to be close to about 45 most of the time. And this one is actually going to be close to about 50-50 because of Guts Correction. So you have 50% chance to instantly win the game or instantly bring your opponent down to 1 life. And the thing is, if you also bring yourself down to 1 life, and if you have more life than your opponent, you can proc Bone Wings before they do. So, you know what I'm saying here? You can basically get the hit and then give yourself a speed buff after that. It's pretty cool. These hit techs do like no damage, but they have a great chance to proc the status effects. So Heat Ray if you're trying to wither your opponent, but Freeze Beam I think is more the option because you get the ability to lower your opponent's skill if you freeze them. 5 King is going to keep getting moved down. I'll just put him over here for now. Melba. Instigate is decently strong. 24 cost for this is, you know, it's pretty good. Pretty good move. It does not do as much damage as you would hope it would, but it's pretty solid. Melba turning, -5 hits, not great, but you know, especially when you compare it to this thing that's right below it. This costs less, plus 10 hits, obviously less damage by a pretty substantial margin, but spinning charge is pretty solid. Screwdrive is just like, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna land the hit. But the thing is, Power Melba is probably not as strong as Intelligence Melba. Intelligence Melba has... What was I thinking of? No, these moves suck. I was thinking of a different monster entirely. Melbanic Ray, very inaccurate for how much damage it does. Airborne Shot, again, inaccurate for how much damage it does and how much it costs. And Flying Ray, same. Why does this cost 42? This isn't like... When I think of 42, I think of Raki Sneak Attack, which... This is better than Raki Sneak Attack. Or Sneak Combo, but everything is better than Raki Sneak Combo. 42 cost for 20 damage. This is such a terrible move. Melba having a fast guts rate. Yeah, Melba does have a fast guts rate. Melba has a 10. So that means that Bemstar brings it up to 9. I definitely don't think Melba's on par with this. It's definitely not on par with this. It's better than a few of these, I think. I might move it around later. I think it's probably better than Bemstar, but, you know. It's not nearly in like a Seem Strong type of standing. Miclas. Oh, my boy Miclas, look at this. Power text all the way down, and then 2 intelligence texts at the bottom. Real quick, we need to talk about Cut Loose. This is maybe the worst tech that's ever existed in Monster Rancher. There's a couple of techs in Monster Rancher 4 that have just like completely batshit cost. We just looked at Sneak Attack. This is maybe the worst move, one of the worst moves in Monster Rancher 2. So at 42 cost, it's 100% not worth it. Never, ever, ever worth it. But it can be a little bit impactful. This is terrible. 25 cost for barely a D-Force tech with minus 18 hit. One of the absolute worst chances to hit in the entire game. It does Withering for some reason. I think that's why they justified this cost. But this is horrendous. Not exaggerating when I say it might be the worst. And if you look down the list, Miclas's hit chances in general are extremely bad. He's got another at 18, minus 15, minus 14, minus 13, minus 17, minus 14, just awful. Buffer Flame is better than Heat Ray, so if you're running Intelligence Miclas, you would only run Buffer Flame and nothing else. But then you've got Bull Rush. Bull Rush is Miclas's best move. If you take a look at Melba that we just saw, Bull Rush is better than anything Melba has. It's just like stands out as a move that's like actually good for no reason on a monster that doesn't have a lot of that. Burning Shot is great because he kicks a big rock, but I don't know. Like compare Rock Shot, which is 25 force minus 6 hit, to Bull Rush, which is 26 force plus 5 hit. Bull Rush costs 1 more for an additional plus 11 hits and 1 force. Golem should be the only monster that has hit techs with like stats that low, and if they got hit chance stats that low, they need to have a big number here, and he has a very small number here, so that is just bad. You're probably running Headbutt, you're probably running Bull Rush. Well, you're definitely running Bull Rush. If you're not, you're making it harder on yourself for no reason. Honestly, after seeing this and seeing Melba, I think Miclas might just be a better Melba. Okay, Melba's actually pretty bad. I'm very close to putting Garamon in very weak. The thing about Monster Rancher is that you don't need a lot of good techs. You need one good tech to carry you. And Miclas's best tech is okay. And so he goes into average. If he had like another tech on that level of Bull Rush, he would probably be up here and seem strong, but I think he's probably here. Mocchi's next. We got Mocchi. I don't have a lot of extremely strong opinions on Mocchi. What do you guys think about Mocchi? Some of these are very silly. Pedal Swirl is basically the same numbers as it was in Monster Rancher 2. Stronger in this game by virtue of everything in this game being a little bit more shit than in Monster Rancher 2. Mocchi is good this time around for Bullet alone. Mocchi Bullet is okay. This is actually a pretty good move. Good chance to burn. 20 damage for, you know, middling hit, a little bit of Withering and sharpness. Toon does so much Withering. This is an incredibly good Withering tech. But Withering alone isn't usually enough to win games. His other intelligence techs, you got Mocchi Boom, which is way better in this game than it is in Monster Rancher 4. Still not great, but this is pretty strong. Like, in general, minus 5 hit for good damage and good Withering for only 28 cost. That's rare. Pedal Storm is decent. Yeah, Pedal Storm is good. It's better than it is in Monster Rancher 2. Because this costs way more than 35 in Monster Rancher 2. Costs 40. These numbers are, you know, it's just better in Kaiju. Way more likely to hit, and this absorbs 50% thing seems bad, but Petal Storm in Monster Rancher 2 is actually one of the only, is it the only life drain tech in that game that only steals 50% health instead of 100% health. It's, I don't know why. Mocchi Ray is, again, this is pretty good. 42 and 0. This is like a cheaper, a little bit less impactful version of like a Gelcopter. Good chance to paralyze too, which is really good. Yeah, because like Mocchi Bullet's pretty good. Mocchi Ray, I think, is got potential as well. I don't think it's on, it's weird because I don't think it's on the same level as a lot of these other guys, but I do think it's better than average. So I don't know where to put it. But we'll put him there for now. Neronga, as far as like good attacks goes, Invisible Tail is pretty strong. This is like basically the Bull Rush on Miclas, except better. Slightly less accurate, but it just does more of everything. But then the rest of his power attacks are like kind of middling. Invisible Tackle looks at a first glance like it's pretty good, but it is very, very expensive for some reason. Electric Gore, for whatever reason, just has an insanely low hit rate. Got like so many like near misses, you know? Discharge Charge is fine. It's okay. Invisible Tail is like the main reason to do a Power Neronga though, if you're gonna do it. And then on the intelligence side, he's got a bunch of low damage, middling accuracy techs like Plasma Bullet and Invisible Shock, which, you know, cost way too much for what they do. And then he's got Despot Shock for no reason, doing 55 force over here, but minus 18 hit. You're probably not going to risk it. I don't know. I wish his intelligence build was better. A lot of the attacks look really cool, but I think his power build is just better. I think Invisible Tail is enough to carry him. I don't know. I'm torn. I think he's got the potential to be here. Maybe if somebody figures out a good cookie spread. I think he probably belongs at the front. Nova's got a lot of really cool attacks. Red Crazy Gas is a great tech. The shit has an 80% chance to poison. You've got other options. Gas Jet is great. Another 50% chance to poison. Those are like the two main intelligence techs you're using. Red Rain buffs his intelligence very slightly. I don't think it's worth it. Nova Laser is like a huge fuck it. Let's just win this type move. But damage is so high in this game with this until the meta changes. I don't think Nova Laser is useful at all because Red Crazy Gas is already enough to kill like every speed monster in one hit. We haven't even looked at his power techs. It's got a couple of like okay options, but Red Crazy Gas is his best move by far. It's probably the one you want to be using most of the time. Makes me kind of want to rethink where like Birdon and stuff is, because Nova's got options for every build, and some of these other builds are like, you know, depending on who you run into, it's kind of rough. It's probably like kind of similar in power level to Gali in Monster Rancher 2. Looking at what Nova looks like in costume form, it looks so funny compared to the game version. I know. Pedanium Zetton. Pedanium Zetton is one of the coolest monsters in this game. PZ Combo, yeah, PZ Combo is fine. It's one of the better basic techs in the game. But like that and this are like your main options, and they cover each other up, which makes it kind of an issue. The other ones are kind of bad. Dark Rush, not great. Pedanium Zetton has an incredibly bad guts rate. Pedanium Zetton has a dragon guts rate, and you can't combine him like you can with King Job. So Pedanium Zetton has a 19 guts rate, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's bad. It is like awful, awful, awful. So a move like this, you're gonna have a decent chance to hit, and it's gonna do an okay amount of damage. Teleport attack and then PZ shoot, or I would say PZ shoot over PZ combo, because teleport attack covers up your need for a accurate tech on him. But then on the intelligence side, it's just all of these nukes, just like nuke after nuke. You got Pedanium Flare and Meteor. Destray is like a sort of mini nuke that costs a lot for no reason. Rampage Pedanium Meteor does 80. That does more than Golem Cyclone in Monster Rancher 2. Most of his attacks are atrocious. But I do think Teleport Attack keeps him above water, and I do think PZ Shoot keeps him above water. So he's kind of Miclas style in that sense. I think I'm going to put him in average. The more I look at this, the more I think I got to move monsters down. And I think we're going to put Gan-Q down here. We're going to put Garamon down here. He seems so bad. Poor guy. Known that this is not an S tier, right? Like, these are not all the S tier monsters. These are just the monsters I think are very strong competitively. S tier is something that is held for like the absolute best of the best. Exceptions, like things that don't have losing matchups. Shit like Metalner being like an S+ tier, and then stuff like Naga and Kamui being directly below it. Very strong is AS. Yeah, it's A and S, but not like differentiated in that sense. I think it's like maybe like an A- at the absolute worst. If you guys don't understand what tiers are for the most part, and don't feel bad if you don't, because people just kind of use them to mean whatever they want. In traditional fighting game tier lists, A rank is like, these are the good characters. They do not have weaknesses, and they can win tournaments. S tier is like that, plus also they have a bunch of busted shit on top of that. B rank is like, you know, it's a competent character that maybe has some like serious flaws, and then anything below that is like deeply, deeply flawed. Anything that's like a C tier or below is like a character that like has either like weird niche use, or it's like it's really bad versus the best characters in the game, and so even though it's got some good matchups here and there, it just doesn't have any meta relevant matchups, things like that. When people say S rank, A rank, most of the time they're just talking out their ass. Like Reicubas said, this is like the A and S tier. We don't know what's actually going to be S tier. I think it's probably going to be this guy. He's probably going to move up to his own tier eventually. But all of this right here is like, if this monster is in the tournament, I think they got a good shot to win. Down here, maybe with a bit of luck. Anyway, Red King, tanky boy, in theory at least, very slow guts rate. He's going to be our highest ranked slow guts rate monster. 15, which is, you know, not as bad as a lot of these other things. So he's like hair guts rate. And then I think, what's his fastest? Bemstar? There's a Baltan. So he gets all the way up to 12, which is, you know, it's pretty solid. The Santa one is also 12. The Bemstar is also 12. So above average. He gets above average. And he's got some moves that seem to be built for a monster with a slow guts rate, which means the numbers are kind of cracked. I almost want to move Pedanium Zetton up to Seem Strong. The more I think about that one move that has 21 hit, 21 damage and 12 hit, it seems good, right? I don't know why I never realized about that move, but it actually seems pretty good. I'm learning. I thought he was bad, but it's because I was thinking of his intelligence build. I didn't realize he had sleeper power attacks. Red King's got stuff like Bite, which is a mistake. This is really good. This is like, if you compare it to the Pedanium Zetton, it's very similar, but again, this monster's got a much faster guts rate, so it makes it work. It makes it work in a serious way. Charge, again, it's basically the Miclas Bull Rush, and like that's Miclas's best move, but Red King's got it, and also a move that's like better than it up here. Earth Crusher, again, like these moves are stupid. Earth Crusher is 38 force and 0 hit for 25 cost. Like, it's nuts. Red King is like easily a top 5 monster in the game. I could not tell you why Red King is so good. Somebody is a fan. Reicubas. I wanted Reicubas to be good so badly. And then you look at his text, and he's got this. He's got Blizzard Hammer, which is crap, and like he doesn't have anything. Why is this move the way it is? Why are these moves so bad? Reicubas is such a sad monster. Tail Smash probably ends up being his best tech after Blizzard Hammer. Blizzard Hammer I consider his best tech because it does have that chance to freeze, which helps him out. And, you know, -9 sucks, but what are you gonna do? Charge is fine with a question mark on the end. You know what? I take it back. Heat Tackle is probably his best tech. I didn't realize it had 33 hit. I thought it had 23 hit. Or 23 force. He's got a lot of intelligence techs. They're bad too. They're all super inaccurate. I like how he's got maximum firebomb and freezing gas, which are more or less the same tech. I don't know. If you're running intelligence, you're probably getting freezing gas and ice block drop, or ice drop, I should say, and that's probably it. Heavy hitting expensive text just doesn't fit the speed game meta and guaranteed grid. Yeah, it doesn't. I'm gonna put him here. Why only 5% on ice drop? Why even bother? It being 5% still gives it access to traits. Yeah, that's the point. Sevenger's got options, but no, they're all kind of goofy. Jet Crash is a good tech. Jet Attack is a good tech. You have your option here of nuke or, you know, a little bit more of an accurate option in slot 4. Monsters in this game don't start in slot 4, so this is like They have to move into the slot. This is not a round opener. Stuff in slot 2 and 3 is the round opener. Rigid Core Iron Fist Rocket Uppercut is a great name and a bad tech. Jet Headbutt is really strange. I don't know why this is a hit tech at +2. They just didn't know what to call it because it doesn't do anything. His intelligence techs are few and far between. Lock On is kind of useless. Buff skill by 10%. Seems great until your monster spams it. If your monster only used it once and then never again, it would be fantastic, but that's not how it happens. We all know that's not how Monster Rancher AI works. Iron Fist Rocket, again, pretty close, on the cusp of being good, but not quite. Iron Punch is fine. I don't know, Iron Kick is super expensive for no reason. Kabuki Attack, again, close to being good, but not quite. It does do a lot of withering though. Sevenger's got that 13 guts rate, so he's very average with that, which kind of makes this kind of hard to interpret because it seems like these are the hit rates and damage output and guts costs of a monster with like a 7 guts rate in Monster Rancher 2. Sevenger also has the close-up trait. Yeah, close-up trait makes Iron Punch better, but this other stuff, this is still pretty bad. Iron Kick's still pretty bad. Punch is still pretty bad. I think Sevenger is better than a few of the monsters we've talked about today, but I don't think it's great. Wish him down somewhere. There we go. See, so now the very strong field is not looking as overpopulated as it was at the beginning. Okay, so Skull Gomora. Skull Gomora has, what's his most accurate tech? He's got the bite, which is not good. Everything else is like minus. Shockwave is okay. I don't think he can run a competent intelligence build though, because you are banking on Shockwave as like your trump card. And it's just not enough. On power side, Oscillatory Wave Charge is your main damage, but then it kind of falls apart and you don't have a lot of other options. It'd be really cool if he had other options, but he doesn't. I wish he had more options. He's kind of a cool guy. What else would you even get? I guess you get Deep Bite, and maybe that's the entire build, right? This is actually kind of depressing. 17 guts rate, so really bad. I don't think it's in the seems weak, because it's still got stuff that's like better than Miclas. He's got better techs than Miclas in Oscillatory Wave Charge, but he's got such a bad guts rate that if this misses, he's out of the game for a very long time. Yeah, I don't think running tail attack's a great option. I understand why you said that, but I would rather him just not attack, you know? Like, it's an okay option for him, but it's a very, very bad option in the grand scheme of things. And it's in range 2. I almost want to put him in seems weak, but I think I'm going to put him here. He's got okay at best techs, completely torpedoed by a shit guts rate. Suezo. I think Suezo has the potential to be pretty good in this game. Power Suezo has a couple of options. Chow Down is kind of like a crappier version of, what do you call it, of chomping. It steals life though. Teleport, these are basically the same numbers as regular teleport in Monster Rancher 2. Not solid, not great. I think Tail Assault's really good. I think Tail Assault is pretty solid. The only problem is that it doesn't wither the same amount that it did in Monster Rancher 2. So it can only wither up to 7 on max. And the animation is a little bit longer. But for 12 guts, like, Tail Assault's already a pretty good move in Monster Rancher 2. People talk about how Spit is so strong. And Spit is a very strong basic. But Tail Assault has always been really good as well. It's part of why Suezo is so easy to use for new players. Tongue Slap, for basically the same Tongue Slap values, doesn't wither the 35 it does in Monster Rancher 2, but nothing withers as much as it does in Monster Rancher 2, so you're probably getting Tongue Slap, maybe Tail Assault, so it's not always using Tongue Slap, and then Chow Down. Teleport's, just like it is in Monster Rancher 2, a little bit too expensive for what it does. Bite in this game I think is just ostensibly worse than it is in Monster Rancher 2, I probably wouldn't get it. But he's got a lot more intelligence options, and a couple of his options have changed pretty drastically. Yodel is pretty much a regular Yodel, except it is now a slot 2 move, which is interesting. It becomes an instant like round opener move because you always start in between slots 2 and 3 in this game. So if he walks forward, he can use Yodel immediately and then put himself in a crazy advantage. This is actually a really good move in this game. Telekinesis, fine move, extremely high chance to hit. Damage is not great, but you know, it's always been that way and it's always gotten a lot of use. I-Beam is not the I-Beam we know and love. It is kind of ass. Suezo Beam is closer to regular I-Beam, except it has a good chance to hit in this game instead of the -7. It's pretty solid. And then Super Spit as well is also very, very good. This is really similar to that one move PZ has, except it's on a monster with a much faster guts rate, especially when you combine it with something with a faster guts rate like Dada. But compared to Monster Rancher 1 numbers, Monster Rancher 1 is just its own beast. Meteor seems good too. Yeah, Meteor is fine. I mean, it's got 50% chance to burn, which is where most of that cost comes from. He's got so many options on the intelligence side. I'm actually really surprised at how many good options Suezo has. I don't know, he doesn't seem completely broken to me, but the fact he's got a good power build and like myriad great intelligence techs makes me almost want to put him in very strong. I think we might put him at the very top as seems strong. I think Suezo probably belongs up here, and Birdon is probably down here. I think Suezo, you can't look at those numbers and be like, this is not very good. Or like, this is not contender for one of the best in the game. I don't know why more people haven't run him, to be completely honest. He's got a lot of potential, and I think he has so many good options on so many different techs that like you can build like probably like 5 or 6 different really strong competitive builds. Suezo in its rightful place above Mocchi. I'm as surprised as you are, Lexi, that Mochi's actually good. Who do we got next? Super C.O.V. Super C.O.V is so fucking bad. Oh my god. And this isn't like a PZ situation where I'm like sleeping on one tech that like completely changes it for me. Super C.O.V is definitely down there with Garamon, and I really wish he wasn't. Hyper Kick is probably his best tech. 36 minus 4. And you're probably thinking to yourself, you know, that doesn't seem great on the surface, but there's a lot of really bad techs out there. You know, it's not that terrible. Right. Except Super C.O.V has a 19 guts rate. Super C.O.V has Dragon's guts rate. What's the best Super C.O.V? 15. It does not get higher than 15. That is worse than the worst possible maximum guts rate in Monster Rancher 2. In Monster Rancher 2, the worst possible max guts rate is Arrowhead at 14. You cannot get an Arrowhead with a better guts rate than that because all of its subs kind of suck. He doesn't have like a Pixie or a Metal Nerd or anything like that. So he's got a 17 guts rate that only gets pulled up 3 spots by Suezo and by Joker and by Mock. This is even worse. This is obviously not as bad as PZ or Skull Gomora, but like Supercharge seems okay, but 38 on this guts rate is horrendous. You do not want to be spending 38 guts on anything. You want to be able to get off your pot shots and, you know, help out a little bit. But like so many of these moves are terrible. Cross Slash is awful. Oh, Cross Slash is awful. Cross Sickle is awful. Super Tail Attack minus 11 for no reason. His basics are really funny. And then his intelligence techs are terrible. Flash C.O.V Shot is his big nuke. It's minus 19. Why is it minus 19? This fucking hit tech has 11 force. Like, he's never gonna use this. This is like a... Think of Tiger's Roll Assault, right? Tiger's Roll Assault costs 27, I think? 26, something like that. It's got plus 20 hit, and it has 10 force. And Tiger has a 9 guts rate. This move costs almost as much, does about the same, has about half the hit rate. It's on a monster with a 19. Warcry is terrible. This monster just has nothing going for it. This monster is very bad. New to this game, any trivia on why there's so little Legacy Monster Rancher monsters? Because it wasn't the intention, right? They're more of Easter eggs than anything else. The intention was to sell a game to Ultraman fans. And also just like, hey, by the way, there's a couple of Monster Rancher monsters here. If you haven't played Monster Rancher, maybe you'll like it. Telesdon has a couple of interesting options, but he's got a lot of like really funny, like not good stuff. Like, this move is terrible. Why is Ambush so bad? 36 cost for 22 damage and like no hit? It's so weird, man. Why would you ever get this? This is his Kiramomi. Very inaccurate. You're hoping to like just get the kill with it. Drill Beak, not worth the cost, but it's close. But then he's got stuff like Paralyzed Claw, which at minus 5 hit, this is not terrible. Telesdon has 16, yeah. It's below average. It's not the worst in the game, but you know, it's barely workable. You say he's a mid-tier, but I don't actually see a lot of stuff that point towards mid-tier. Dig is one of his better options, and this should not cost 32. Can't even really talk about his intelligence attacks because Tremor is just a worse version of Ambush. And we were already just talking about how shitty Ambush is. Or sorry, at absolute best, he's in the seems weak category. I wish he had something slightly better than this, you know? What's Telesdon's cookie? You get pushed back a shorter distance. So it doesn't even help. I don't know, I'm looking at this, I don't see anything that like jumps out to me as like anything beyond usable, like at best, you know? Came into this thinking Paralyzed Claw was a little bit better than it is. I think Paralyzed Claw is enough to keep him above stuff like Garamon. These numbers are not great, but 50% chance to paralyze does let you set up some shit because he has such low chance to hit on everything. It gives some of your other options a better chance, like Spinning Charge and Dig, specifically Dig. So I think if I was running a Telesdon, that would probably be Sediment maybe worse. Sediment may be worse than Cut Loose. Given the context of his guts rate, you might be right. Maybe above Reicubas. Yeah, I think you can make an argument for that. Just barely. Paralyzed Claw probably does a lot to help him out. Paralyzed Claw is the only thing stopping him from being like legitimately awful. Thunderkiller. Thunderkiller has a couple of interesting attacks. Thundertail is a little bit inaccurate, but you know, 40 damage for 36 cost, good chance to crit. 20% chance to make it a 60 force tech. This will just instantly nuke anybody. And in a Discharge Charge is just a funny name for a tech. It's not great, but Thunder Death Charge is the big one though. This is crazy though. 42 and -4. What's this? And 20 Withering with 70% chance to paralyze. Thunder Death Charge is a nuke that if it doesn't kill your opponent, which, you know, likely it won't because they are speed based, you will have a great chance to follow up because they will be paralyzed. It also allows you that if this is a thing that you're kind of relying on, you can run a little bit less power than normal. 16. Okay, so yeah, that's what I thought. It's slow, but it's not unusable. But that's basically it for its power attacks, right? You're probably gonna get Thunder Death Charge and maybe Thundertail, but that's pretty expensive to have both, and they're in the same slot. Thunderclaw, and then, you know, Thunder Death Charge is probably the play for the most part. Discharge Charge is not incredible for the 36, but... And then for intelligence, he's got regular Discharge, which does a lot of withering and pretty good damage, and 40 chance to paralyze for 35, which 35 is very expensive on him. This move will win you the game. You know, this is a game-winning type of move. It does a lot of things very well. 35 is a very expensive cost for 16 guts rate, but you know, at least it's not this. At least it's not the 50. He's got Crescent Beam, which is kind of bonkers. Doesn't do a ton of damage, but has a very good chance to crit that like holds it up a little bit. 20 cost, 20 hit %. So this combined with Discharge is a pretty solid strategy. Squeesh. So it's kind of funny. Didn't do it on purpose, but all of the big three ended up in this tier. I do think it drops off pretty heavily by this point. These three guys in general, actually, I think are probably pretty close to Seems Weak. If I had another tier, I would put them in that. Tyrant has a couple of attacks that are pretty fun. Baraba Whip in general, Baraba Whip. Is this the one? Oh no, Despotic Hammer Punch. This shit can glitch the game and make your opponent invisible. Doesn't do anything, but it's cool. It's cool that you can accidentally make your opponent invisible. Would I ever use it? Costs 58? Probably not, but you know, it does good damage. It does good damage. 72 force. Why do you need that much? You don't. Stuff like Baraba Whip here is pretty good. Charge is basically the same move except just slightly better. And the cool thing about it is these are in 2 different slots. So you get the same tech in slot 4 and in slot 3. You have like an option. You can go with both, you can go with one, or you can go with the other, and it's basically the same thing. If I was running power, I would probably just run Charge and Baraba Whip and some personality that makes him attack further back. Arrow Beam on the intelligence side is okay. This is a very, very high chance to hit for the cost and damage. You know what? Explosive Radiation, -6 for this isn't terrible. 38 force for 35 cost. 30% chance to burn. Burn seems to be the least important type of status ailment in this game. I'd probably go Arrow Beam and Explosive Radiation. His power build seems a lot better though. Like that. I'm like slowly sinking in my chair. We're getting sleepy mode. We're almost done. This has been a fucking ordeal. Windom next. Windom has some fun attacks as well. Every monster in this game's got a couple of cool attacks, but you know, they're not all winners. Spin shot is very funny. It's the frantic beam. It's not good, but it's funny. You run self-destruct. Because why does it only cost 39 to do this much damage at only -5 hit? I don't know. This is like power version of King Joe for the most part. And then you run kick just to finish him off. That's the power Windom build, I do believe. I do declare. Windom attack is kind of okay as well, but I would probably just run self-destruct instead. On the intelligence side, none of this is great, right? Like laser shot looks okay, but 28 for this cot is like not great. And then laser looks okay, but we really got to hit max withering on the laser or else it's just absolutely not worth cost. Energy charge is very expensive for the chance to only heal 3% of your health. Windom's got a very fast guts rate though, which makes the explosion interesting because it costs less, it does enough damage to kill. I think Windom might actually be just as good as King Joe. I'm probably going to put them side by side because they're very similar. Windom's going to be a little bit less accurate because of the fast guts rate, but King Joe is going to be a little bit more accurate because of the extremely slow guts rate, and you know, you pick your poison. Do you want the higher accuracy, or do you want more opportunities to explode your opponent? I think it's really funny that two of the strongest potential builds in this game are just, I blow up and I hope you blow up too. It's so funny. To be completely honest, a lot of the time when I think about playing this game, I'm like, you know what, I would rather just be playing Monster Rancher 2. But then when we sit down and we talk about it, I'm actually like, you know what, this actually seems like a very fun and completely unexplored game. I'm excited to play some more. And our final monster we have to talk about tonight is Zetton. He's got potential. He's got Zetton Kick, which is maybe his best move. We've seen this archetype of tech all over the place. Great chance to hit at 0 for how much it costs, 32 force, pretty good. Teleport attack is also really solid for only 12 cost, but he doesn't really have good, like, big damage potential on the power side, right? Jump kick's pretty alright. Yeah, it's an interesting heavy tech because it's a very Monster Rancher 2 style heavy tech where it doesn't cost much, but it's very, very risky, right? So the cost is low, but the risk is still fairly high because of it, which is an interesting way to build techs, and I really like the Monster Rancher 2 style of doing that. You don't see that a ton in this game. A lot of shit just costs a ton and also is like -19 for no reason. I think his intelligence build is maybe even better though, because like Zetton Light Bullet is basically the same thing as Zetton Kick. And then you got Laser Cannon, which again is the same thing, except it's got 30 crit. But he's got all these moves that are like just sitting around 30 and all have about 50% chance to hit or better. For only 18, this is like not too bad. 1 trillion degrees Fireball is just so good. It's such a funny name for an attack. And, you know, it's not terrible. Good chance to burn. What's Zetton's guts rate though? It's like 16, right? Or 17? Yeah, it's 16. So Zetton, I think, is also in the seems strong category. I think he's got a lot of stuff going for it. I remember when he first came out, people were having trouble finding these good techs, and there was like a lot of speculation about him being weak, and a lot of the other techs he gets immediately are kind of shit. Osish to Nova, so that's what I was thinking. I'm thinking he's like at the top of seems strong. I'm really torn. I brought Birdon down here, but I do think Birdon can like go up here. I do think Birdon has potential to be like completely fucked up, and we just, you know, haven't seen the completely fucked up build yet. I'm okay with that. Anybody has any objections to that, let me know. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know what you think in the comments. Have you raised a monster that seems really, really powerful? And then if you haven't, let me know. If you've only raised shitty monsters, feel free to let me know. It feels weird calling this average, but I mean average not in the sense of like they are exactly in the middle and there is an equal number above and below them, but more so they're average in their potential. Like they're going to lose probably as much as they win on their best days. The monsters below them have pretty glaring weaknesses, whereas these ones, they've got a couple of good things going for them, but they're, you know, not particularly strong. It's kind of interesting there's no fast guts rate monster that's extremely bad in this game. I guess Bemstar is the closest to that. But in Monster Rancher 2, it's all over the place. You see that shit everywhere.